Okay, hopefully we're back, and hopefully this means that I don't sound like a fucking chipmunk. Let's find out. All right, seems to be functioning properly. Sorry about that. This is why I want. This is why I try to get somebody else to hop in on these things with me so that I can find out whether or not I sound like a fucking chipmunk on nitrous before I go out on air. So I apologize for that. Hopefully we can get rolling now like real people. And welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikinen. I am coming to you from the heart of the Santa Cruz Mountains in Boulder Creek, California, where our state flag is the flannel shirt, our state bird is the pit bull, and our state flower is cannabis. We've got some heavy shit to talk about right now. The day before, or the day after Julian Assange was dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy in London, he was scheduled to meet with the UN Rapporteur for torture and the one for human rights. That obviously did not happen. He was taken from the embassy to Belmarsh Prison, which has been nicknamed the UK's Guantanamo Bay, where he's been ever since. He's now in the hospital ward. His health is failing rapidly. And finally, one of the people from the UN for the Rapporteur for Torture, his name is Melzer. I'll try and get a full name here. But why bother? At any rate, UN Rapporteur for Torture released his report. Um, I guess California time, it was like late night or something. I woke up to read it. It is not good. The money quote that WikiLeaks used to highlight this report was, in 20 years of work with victims of war, violence, and political persecution, I have never seen a group of democratic states ganging up to deliberately isolate, demonize, and abuse a single individual for such a long time and with so little regard for human dignity and the rule of law. And he ends with, the collective persecution of Julian Assange must end here and now. Pretty hard not to co-sign that if you're a feeling, thinking fucking human being. We know, however, that the people who run our intelligence agencies, the people who are in charge of these governments, the CEOs and banksters who pull the reins of power for these insidious motherfuckers, are not full of humanity. When I had Sean O'Brien on the podcast, which you guys should all go watch if you haven't already. Sean O'Brien is the lead at the Yale Privacy Lab. He provides tools to activists and organizers on how to communicate securely in a world of unfucking categorically invasive surveillance. Good dude. When I first found out about Sean in the Yale Privacy Lab, I was watching a Unity for J online vigil, which is going to start here about 1 o'clock my time, which you guys should please go check out and participate in. He was talking about somnambulant torture. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of somnambulant torture, it is sending electrical pulses or signals or sounds that disorient and frustrate and confuse their target. There is no doubt in anyone's mind that has paid attention to the isolation, imprisonment, and torture of Julian Assange that he was a clear victim of somnambulant torture. We know that solitary confinement is considered a form of torture. Julian Assange has been virtually alone for much longer than anyone with any of a weaker constitution would be able to. Solitary confinement is designed to break you, designed to turn you into a puddle, designed to have you so longing for human communication that you will spill every secret you've ever had in your entire life just for the opportunity to talk to somebody. Yeah, I saw the I saw the vigil that they had going yesterday. The Unity for J vigil that I'm talking about happens every Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. It's co-hosted by Susie Dawson and Joe Loria and Elizabeth Voss, who will be on this show next week. And I ran through their guest list this morning. It looks like they're going to have Bill Binney back on. Chris Hedges is going to be back on. Ray McGovern's going to be back on. These are heavy hitters with a lot of information to bring out. And the simple fact that not enough people are involved in or participating in or sharing the fuck out of the Unity 4J vigils is discouraging to me. But included in this UN report is the fact that the full court press and smear campaign against Julian Assange is part of the psychological torture that he has had to endure year after year after year. I don't know if you've ever been the victim of a low-level smear campaign just through, you know, going back to fucking middle school days or at the workplace, however it is applied to you in your life. If you have been vilified for something that you have done, and the reason that you did it was because a truth needed to get out, something needed to be said that wasn't being said, or people were being prevented from having this information that would make the overall process run with a little bit more daylight on it. You have experienced a very small degree of what Julian Assange has experienced every single day for years. His crime is exposing the crimes of empire. How fucked is that? That not only is he being tortured as a result of this, but Chelsea Manning is being tortured as a result of this. I do have a little bit of news about Chelsea Manning. Her lawyers did come back with a brand new response to the judge. They are saying unequivocally, confinement will not break her, and your fines are purely punitive. Whether or not that's going to have any kind of sway with the judge that she got dealt is anybody's guess, but is at least encouraging to see that in light of just how poorly Julian Assange is being handled on every facet by every government involved, it is leading to a little bit more pushback with the treatment of Chelsea Manning, even the treatment of Reality Winner, however you feel about her. There's Ola Bini. There's too many whistleblowers that are dropping off the face of the earth unchecked by authoritarian governments who can't exist unless they do dirt in the dark. I'd like to say hi to some folks in the chat for joining us real quick. We've got Dingo, Mr. Broken Oz, Brooke Hines, who, Brooke, by the way, dude, I would love to have you on this show sometime. So if you have a chance or something, shoot me a note and maybe we can connect. I'm going to go back to a couple of quotes from the UN report real quick, because this can't be said enough. This is something that I would really encourage people to share wildly, because the UN report has been made available. The evidence is overwhelming and clear. Mr. Assange has been deliberately exposed for a period of several years to progressively severe forms of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment and punishment, the cumulative effects of which can only be described as psychological torture. At what point? At what point do we demand action on this? I know that there's events scheduled. There are rallies scheduled. I'm trying to get my own ass to one on the 12th of June in San Francisco at the Federal Building. And this is why I'm going to have Elizabeth on the show, because when she and I were talking earlier this week, we both had this sense of like, what do we do? How the fuck do we communicate this? How do we effectively build a message that says, no, the government can't just fucking torture whoever they want to because that person exposed their crimes? The smear campaign, the propaganda against Julian Assange has been so thorough and has lasted for so long and has been so effective that normal, regular fucking people are happy to see him go away, because the only connection they have with the guy is that he's the reason that Mother doesn't get to bomb brown people right now and Trump does. And that is fucking, I don't know how to unfuck that. I don't. I have no clue. Dingo, you're right about that. Vitamin D, the lack of natural sunlight, the lack of vitamin D will depress people. I spent one of my winters when I was doing the Renaissance festivals for a living. I spent up in Mount Hood, Oregon, and I worked in this little place in Sandy, Oregon. It was called Paola's Pizza Barn. It said Paola's Pizza and Pasta in big neon letters, and they connected the P to the A and pasta with the neon. So the big sign always said pizza and Rasta. Really niche little subject there in case nobody is currently listening in or around Sandy, Gresham, or Zigzag, Oregon. Point being, I didn't see the sun for 38 days. That'll depress a fucking Krishna, let alone your regular human being who isn't fucking dancing around, beating a drum, and wearing the same color robe as all their other friends and a blissed out fucking smile all the time. It's not good for you. It's not just lack of sunlight though. I mean, we saw the videos of him kind of like skateboarding around in this little box, trying to do anything that he could do inside this embassy to give himself a little bit of exercise, give himself a little bit of fucking maintain his strength. I'm gonna go back to this because we've proven that solitary confinement is fucking cruel and torture, and it's a war crime anywhere else, but in the US prison, it's just how we operate. Same goes for Belmarsh Prison. Same goes for the UK's prison. You're only allowed to torture your own citizens or high value targets. You're not allowed to torture other people. But in this case, Julian Assange doesn't count as other people because he told on governments. He exposed governments. He did what journalists are supposed to do. He did what publishers of news outlets are supposed to do. In an age where access journalism is how you climb, how you ascend in those particular spheres of influence, by providing cover for the criminals that run this country and run other countries. To have a figure like Julian Assange, who doesn't subscribe to access journalism, who doesn't promote stenography, to have him as this avatar of truth telling and bringing some sunlight as disinfectant into the fucking dark nebulous sphere of global politics, they have to just hate this guy. he was doing in isolation at the Ecuadorian embassy what entire news organizations with millions and millions of dollars and all of the research tools available to them refused to do. Not that they didn't have the ability to do it, they flat the fuck out refused to do what their job is supposed to be because they're rewarded for being fucking lapdogs to power. Julian Assange is currently paying the ultimate price for that. We suffer as individuals and collectively for the lack of investigative journalism, for the I mean, fuck, dude, it's every day we have fewer and fewer sources that are trying to deliver news from outside of the narrative. Not that they don't have a bias or an agenda. I don't for a moment believe that there's anything that exists as objective journalism. But every day we're finding fewer and fewer sources that we can go to for a bias that is outside of the narrative. You see this play out. We watched it play out with the Young Turks for years and years. And I tried to fucking tell you guys, dude. And I know I didn't have a show back then, but I was telling everybody that would fucking listen. Look, man, Cenk Uygur's a libertarian piece of shit. He's a goddamn grifter. He's going to play you for fucking suckers. He's going to take your money and he's going to turn that into a show. And that show is going to deliver MSNBC from the internet. You got to stop looking at it as a dereliction of duty or people not doing their job when they're only giving you news from inside of the narrative. They are doing their job. Their role is to manufacture confusion because we've already manufactured consent. And that's borne out in a hospital ward in Belmarsh Prison with a man dying for exposing the crimes of empire. This has been Slow News Day. I will be back later this afternoon if I can. I have to run my ass down to the elementary school and watch one of my kids play Bad Fish by Sublime in a talent show. I love you guys. I will be back soon. And until then, good luck to us all.